I'm going to be talking about a very controversial topic. It's been sitting on my heart, and I'm very passionate about this. However, it's to say that this is a very taboo topic is an understatement. I'm talking about white people. I'm talking about the genocide, the obliteration of that race. I'm talking about every single war, revolution that has been perpetrated has been over 90% towards that a certain race, which is white people. Which stems from, this is very controversial, Indo-European, which is Aryan, the Aryans, which were indeed the Armenians, and then also the Germans. There's a lot of truth to what the National Socialists, the Nazis, were claiming about that race. And it's always been after that blood. The powers of the world have always been after those certain types of people. Do you want me to start off from the Armenian genocide? Would you like me to start with the white people? Would you like me to start off from the French Revolution? Do you want me to jump to communism, the creators of communism? Over 200 million white people were genocided because of communism. First World War I, Second World War II. I mean, where would you want me to start? I have to say something, and I've done much research, and it's very, every time I look back as to my beliefs, as to what I learned from school, as to what we have learned in schools and, universities, I'm very ashamed of not knowing the truth all these times. I'm very ashamed of not knowing the real history. As they say, history is written by the people who had, victory, the winners. Okay. I'm gonna read you a quote, one of the many quotes. Okay, it says, use force, break the racial pride of these, I'm not gonna say the race, women. Take them as your lawful booty. Kill as you storm onward. Kill, you gallant soldiers of the Red Army. Is that talking about the Armenian people, Slavs? Is that talking about the Jews? No, it's talking about the German people. Again, I read again. Use force and break the racial pride of these German women. Take them as your lawful booty. Kill as you storm onward. Kill, you gallant soldier of the Red Army. This person's name is Elia Ehrenberg, who was a Jewish Soviet commissar. Okay, so I want to read another quote. This is from one of your favorite historic presidents, Churchill, Winston Churchill. Okay, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Germany is becoming too strong. We must crush her. You must understand that this war is not against Hitler or National Socialism, but against the strength of the German people, which is to be smashed once and for all, regardless of whether it is in the hands of Hitler or a Jesuit priest. Ladies and gentlemen, dig through your histories, and you will be shocked as to see one of the most atrocities towards a nationality has not been, towards the blacks, even towards the Armenians, even towards the Jewish people. It has been towards this German race, Germanic race. First of all, for all of those ignorant people, people think Germany is new. Germany has been they're very old. So if it was not for the Germans, you would not have the Russians, you would not have the Slavs, you will not have the Britons and the English and Americans, blah, 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 blah. All those people, their roots are Germanic. So the Germanic race has been around the same time, as a matter of fact, as the Armenians. They are very, very old. Now, how many Germans were slaughtered? And nobody knows this. A lot of people, well, not nobody, but a lot of people don't know this. No race, I repeat myself, has been undergone through so much atrocities and torture and rape and murder and slaughter and Holocaust, ethnic cleansing of the German people. Nobody. Do your research and you will see that the number one persecuted people on this planet are the German people. You could scream at me, you could break.
By the winter of 1944, the vicious propaganda war waged against Germany had been won. By that late stage of the conflict, the war of words had reached such evil extremes that few individuals beyond the Reich's borders were concerned about brained German babies or crucified German women. By the final months of the war, the enemy to be destroyed was not merely Adolf Hitler, the Nazi Party, or even the soldiers in the field. By the final months of the war, the aim of the approaching Allies was nothing less than the utter extinction of the German nation. Every man, every woman, every child. Fueling the flames of hate was the Jewish propagandist Ilya Ehrenberg. One of the most influential men in the Soviet Union, Ehrenberg made sure his message of evil reached every soldier in the Red Army by ordering that leaflets be dropped from airplanes onto the front lines.
Kill them all, men, old men, children, and the women, after you have amused yourself with them. Kill. Nothing in Germany is guiltless, neither the living nor the yet unborn. Break the racial pride of the German woman. Take her as your legitimate booty. Kill, you brave soldiers of the victorious Soviet army.
Soon, as the Red Army forced the Wehrmacht back in the east, millions of German civilians suffered the same ghastly fate as the victims of Nemmersdorf. Although first encounters with Soviet shock troops were truly traumatic, it was the second wave of soldiers who delivered hell on Earth. In numerous instances, before troops pushed on, they turned to the helpless civilians and warned,
"The Mongols are coming. Very bad men. You go quick, go quick."
Terrified by the news, many Germans did attempt to flee. Most, however, found themselves trapped. Other than destroy liquor and hide young girls, most could only watch the clock and pray that their worst fears were unfounded. After a wait of sometimes days, but normally hours, the dreaded second wave arrived. Composed largely of Mongols and other Asians, as well as convicts, these men who formed the second wave of troops were regarded, even by their own comrades, as utterly merciless. Leading this group were the communist commissars, the fanatical political officers composed almost exclusively of Jews. These hate-filled individuals acted as the more than willing orchestrators of the horrors that befell the German people. Of all the methods used to express its hatred, the Red Army said it best with rape.
And when the first Russians came, the combat troops, they came in and wanted to see everything. Asked about weapons and soldiers, looked at everything closely.
Let's start after the war. Between 1944 and 1952, over 15 million Germans were ethnically cleansed. I'm not talking about also the Germans that were being slaughtered, for example, in Poland Hence why, you remember Hitler went into war due to Poland. They were slaughtering these disgusting, communists, ethnically cleansing the Germans in Poland, okay? And so I'm not even talking about that. Okay, first of all, there's a very controversial quote from General Patton. He writes in his diaries about these German soldiers, kind of praising the German soldiers and how good they were, and he didn't see anything bad, yada, 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 and that what the Americans and Britons are doing to these German army is against all humanity. Ladies and gentlemen, he wrote in his diary to his wife, "We fought the wrong enemy. We fought the wrong enemy." The wrong enemy was communism, Soviet Union, the communists, the people who were supporting communists, the heads that were supporting the communists, the people who created the communists. I'm not going to tell you, I know a lot, but you go doing your research. Who created communism? Who created Lenin? Where was Lenin and Trotsky? Where were they taught? Were they in Russia or were they in America, in New York? Did these heads give them over $20 million of gold? This is before Tsar, to go back to Russia and do a Russian revolution? BS. It was not a Russian revolution. It was other people who were going into Russia, like Antifa, okay? And they created this to get rid of Tsar for communism. Anyway, that's a long story. So General Patton was basically, they got rid of General Patton. He died 2 weeks after that in a freak accident. They didn't even try to save his life. This is in Germany. He died in something, Wittenberg, Germany, or something like that. But another thing, what's his name? Eisenhower, that piece of maggot Eisenhower, the great general, American general Eisenhower, basically, he did anything he can to keep General Patton from going into Berlin before Stalin got there. These are really, really sensitive information. He basically did not allow General Patton to enter into Berlin. I wonder why. When they got rid of, Hitler and all that, when they overtook it, they didn't allow General Patton to go in there, okay? I wonder why. So Stalin was the first, this is another hint, Stalin was the first person, Stalin and his army, to have entered Berlin after they overtook Germany. The Russians, the communists, the Red Army, your wonderful Red Army, were the first people to have entered Germany, Berlin. Another thing that you might want to know, what they've done to the soldiers, to the German soldiers. Around 2 million soldiers were in these camps after they said, okay, we give up, right? They basically purposefully were starved to death in these camps, ladies and gentlemen. In these camps by freaking Eisenhower, by the British and by America and by Britain. These soldiers, a lot of them, I'm talking about 2 million soldiers, a little less than 2 million soldiers. A lot of them went into gulag camps. This is against all humanity. A lot of them torture, and then all of them were starving to death, catching diseases, dying. And there are records that shows that they had no food and water problem. Like food, they had a lot of food, they had a lot of water, but they were not given food and water. And one more thing, they would not let the Red Cross to get into these camps to help these German captured soldiers. I'm very passionate about this. I'm very passionate about lies. I'm very passionate about the truth. All I care about is the truth. I don't care if I'm against my own people, I'm against my family. If they are living a lie, if they are creating lies in the world, I'm going to say it. I'm sorry. Jesus said the truth shall make you free. People need to know the truth. And I advise you, because I'm not going to say any more, I advise you to do research on these topics. So what is going on now? I mean, look what we're going through. We're having another war. Is this war against the black people? Is this war against Muslims? Is this war against Israel, the Jews? Is this war against China? I'm talking about the Ukraine and Russia war. Who is this war against? White people. It's always been it's always been about the white race. Say whatever the hell you want. They are trying to get rid of the white race. If you take a white person, if you take me and then mix it, and then if I get married to anybody else but the white person, my genes are completely obliterated. You cannot, once a white gene is taken over, any gene is dominant. Anything is dominant but the white. That's it. So the white people are becoming less and less and less and less. Look at all the refugees, ladies and gentlemen. Why are they putting refugees into Europe? Because they want, I have proof. I have books. I could send you video after video talking about white people need to be obliterated. There are books written by, for example, I'm not going to say the race, in 1920 something, even 1800s, talking about we have to ethnically cleanse 40 million Germans. There are books about that. There are books about mixing the white race. Mixing the white race with other races. Why are they taking refugees into Norway? Norway has more refugees than white people. Why don't they take these refugees into other countries, ladies and gentlemen? I'm sorry, yes, I am nationalistic. When I go to Italy, I want to see Italian people. I do not want to see Chinese. I do not want to see black people. I do not want to see Indians, or when I go to India, I want to see Indian people. When I go to China, I don't want to see Armenians and Jews and Persians and I don't know, Indians. I want to see Chinese people. Do you understand what I'm saying? When I go to Armenia, I want to see Armenian people. I don't want to see any other people. When I go to Russia, I want to see Russian people. Do you understand? When I go to Israel, I want to see Israelis. I want to see Jews. And that's the way it should be. But they have corrupted all Europe. And I don't know, like 50 years from now, even less, Europe is not going to exist. This Christian people, which stems from, Europe is about tradition and Christianity. So they're obviously against that. That's not going to exist in less than like 50 years. You're not going to have that because they are corrupting it. What? Putin and what's that disgusting? Oh, I can't stand them. I can't stand any of these leaders. They are killing off their own people. They are killing off the Slavs. How many Slavs? How many Armenians? How many white Christians? And don't get me started. Don't get me started. How many Christians have they killed in World War I, ladies and gentlemen? How many Christians did Lenin kill? How many Christians did Stalin kill? My family grew up in my grandmother grew up in a concentration camp in Siberia during Stalin, because my grandfather, I guess, was a big mouth like me, said something about Stalin or something about religion. So they were lived in a concentration camps for over 9 years. Okay, and you don't want to hear about the torture and the rape done by this freaking disgusting, despicable Red Army in World War II to the German women. You cannot watch some documentaries. You cannot watch. Hundreds of thousands of women died because of rape and torture. These Russian communist soldiers would rape. I'm not talking about hundreds of women. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of women were raped, and children were raped. Not one time, two time, three time, four time, five time, hundreds of times by different soldiers, ladies and gentlemen. And you want me to keep my mouth shut? Why is it taboo to talk about the German the atrocities done to the German people? Why aren't we teaching that in our universities, in our schools? Why aren't we teaching about the atrocities done to all white people? Why aren't we teaching that the problem is the white person because they're too smart? They create stuff. Okay, this is going to sound a little racist, but show me how many white people have created, have given back. They want to get rid of the intelligentsia, the smart, the brains. They are jealous of the white race because it even says it in the Bible. Intelligentsia comes from Japheth. Japheth was the descendants of the white race. How many composers do we have? How many creations do we have? Who did it? You know how many Armenians creators we have? Your transmission car, an Armenian created that. Who created the MRI machine? Armenian. Who created the ATM? Armenian. Who created the hair dryer? Armenian. Who created the one handle faucet? Not the two handle, the one handle faucet? An Armenian. Who created the ink on the dollar bill? An Armenian. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on. And that's why they want to get rid of the white race, because they are intelligent. They want to get rid of the intelligent, the high IQs, so that those certain people can be the only ones left that are smart, ladies and gentlemen. Use your brain.